So once we have discussed the basic concept of external authentication, so now it is time to understand how to integrate those authentication right systems or authentication mechanisms in our ASP.NET Core web application. So for this purpose, for example, let us start with the Google authentication. So if you want to use Google authentication, then what are the steps? First of all, you need to you need to set up a project in Google Cloud Console. You need to provide the auth screen. You need to set the redirect URLs. You have to install the required packages in your .NET Core application. You need to configure the authentication service, and you need to handle the authentication, I mean external login callbacks, and you need to update the views to provide the Google sign-in button. So mostly what we are going to do. So if you look at this page, right? So what we are going to do now, when we are going to provide this Google button, which we have already provided, but we have not implemented the logic. Now, once you click on this button, then it will ask you to enter your, right, what I can say, Google credential. Once you provide the credential, if the credential is fine, then it is going to give you this message. This Google will allow .NET tutorials access this info about you. Do you want to continue or cancel? If you continue, then that the user is authenticated and the user can access our application. If you cancel, then authentication is cancelled. So this is what we need to implement. So how we can implement, let us proceed. So first of all, what we need to do, we need to generate our OAuth credential. This OAuth credentials are nothing but what I can say, the client and the secret that is going to be provided by Google to us when we are registering our application into the Google. So let us proceed and do this step by step. First of all, visit to this URL. So once you visit this URL, it will ask you to, what I can say, registered your application. So I have already created this project, which is right showing there. Okay, let me start with the right big thing. Okay, so let me first of all let me delete this one, and I will show you how to create from the right, what I can say, beginning. Manage resources. I am right. I am admin, and you should have that manage resources. So let me start from the beginning. So let me delete this one. Let me delete my existing project. So this is my internal ID. Okay, fine. Now we'll see the step-by-step process of how to register your application into Google Developer Platform. So visit this URL. Once you visit this URL, then first of all, what you need to do, you need to create a new project. You can click on this create project button, or if you want to create a new, if any project is selected, that project will show here, but this project we have already deleted. So now you can also create on this new project to create a new. So here you can select any project, you can start creating a new project. As we have not created any project, as we are going to start everything from the scratch, what you need to do, you need to click on this select a new project. So once you click on this select a new project, then what you need to do, you need to give a project name to you, project name. So let assume I'm giving my project evening batch. Any name you can give, no issue. So that is what I'm giving my project evening batch. This is going to my project name. And then no organization. If you are working, right, for example, if you are creating any project for a specific organization, then in that case you can select that organization. For now, it is not for any organization. Anyone they can access this application. So once you give the project name, click on this create button. So once you click on the create button, you can see this is running on. So it is creating the project behind the scene. After the project is created, you will get some kind of a notification. So the notification is coming. So I'll see. Create a project. My project evening batch is created. Now, if you want, you can select this project. So once you select this project, you can see from here that project is being selected. So my project evening batch. So once the project is selected, next what we need to. Still now anyone question how to create a project? Is that clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Right. Then what you need to do, right? In this case, enable API services. So here you can see that option. So enable API and services. So API services from the menu, you can see I'm having this option auth consent screen. Is this visible?
Yes.
Yes.
Right? You just need to click on this auth consent screen. That screen is also visible here. If you go here, you can go here. If you select the project, that screen is also visible here directly. Just click on this one. So once you click on this one, so this page is going to be created. So this is the page where you need to provide your information. So let's get started. So authentic, I mean consent information. So about your application, about your audience, about the contact information, all these things you need to provide. So the name of the right asking for the consent. For example, if you see, so in this case, it is saying that Google will allow .NET tutorial. This is the name that giving asking the user. So that name, whatever you want to give, you can provide here. For example, let's give the same .NET tutorials, evening batch. Any name you can give, right? Any name you can give. Any email address by default, whatever the email address you logged in, that email address is going to be selected. So you step one, while you are providing the consent, you have to provide the application there. So once you provide this information, then click on the next button. So once you click on the next button, then you need to decide this target audience, it is going to be within the internal system or external. Internal means what? For example, if you are using some red organization, for example, uh, suppose, for example, some company they are using uh, Gmail service as their email ID, some xyz.com. So that domain name is xyz.com, but that is part of the Gmail service. So in that case, if you select this internal, then only that domain name user can log in. But if you provide external, external means anyone can log in. So in this case, as we are developing the website and our target audience is anyone, so in that case, we need to select this, right? What I can say, external. External means available to any test user with a Google account. If you are having a Google account, you can access the application. Clear?
Yes.
Yes,
Clear?
sir.
Okay. So once you select this one, click on the next button. So here, right, what you can do is you can provide one contact information. In case of any issue, they will right, they will means Google team will contact you. So in this case also, I'm going with the same email ID and then click on the next button. So finally, you need to accept the terms and the condition. Click on this OK. Click on this create button. So once you click on the create button, then your consent screen is going to be ready. So once the consent screen is ready, then what you need to do, you need to create the OAuth credential. So again, come to here and here you can see that option API services and the credential. So click on this credential. So once you click on this credential, currently there is no credential. So you can see this plus create a credential button. So what is this credential? Credential means what? Now we registered our application, we provided the information. But now this information already in my application, I need some kind of a API key and a secret using which my application will communicate with the Google server. So that information we need to create using this create credential. So once you click on this create credential, here you can see I'm having this option OAuth client ID. So this OAuth client ID you need to click. So once you click over the client ID, then you need to select the application type. Application type is going to be web application. So where you need to use this information. What type of authentication client is this? Is this a Android application, iOS application, desktop application, or web application? It is a web application. So what is the client name? You can give any client. So let assume I'm giving web client one. Any name you can give. And once you provide this, then what you need to do, you need to add the JavaScript origin. So origin means what? For user with request from a browser. So browser means what? So this is going to be the website. Website means your domain. So wherever your application is running, that application domain URL you need to provide. So in my case, right, for example, currently let me run the application. So this is the URL. So that what you need to copy and you need to provide here. And here no forward slash. Clear? So this is nothing but your domain URL. Authorized redirect URL. Authorized redirect URL means after the authentication is completed, to which page you need to redirect. So mostly sign in hyphen Google. So any name you can give, that is fine. Sign in Google. Clear?
Yes.
So this needs to be a page in your application. But in my application, I'm just providing this information. In my application, I will show you right how to create right how to properly manage the redirection URL. So now, once you provide this thing, click on this create button. So once you click on this create button, right, you will see two things. One is the client ID and another one is the client secret. Just copy this information. So this is going to be my client ID and this is going to be my client secret. So these things you need to copy. Client ID and a client secret. These two information I need to use in my .NET Core application. If you want, you can also download the JSON file. So you can see that the JSON file being downloaded, which is also going to contain the client ID and the client secret. So these two things, they have already there. Right? This is going to be the client ID and where is the client secret? So client secret must be somewhere, right? So now what I need to do, so once we have these informations, next what I need to do. See, as this is a testing account, as this is going to be a testing account. So earlier, what happens now anyone can text, but now they have restricted to some test ID. So basically, if you want to test this whether it is working fine or not, then what you need to do, you need to add some text user. So how to add the text user? Let us try to understand. So these things we have already completed. Okay. So to do these things, so what you need to do, you need to select the audience tab. So right Cloud Console or the consent screen and then select the audience tab. So now if you come to this part, okay, this is done. So this is going to be my OAuth consent screen. Yes. Okay, so this is my OAuth consent screen now. So if you see, so this is currently the OAuth consent screen. And from this consent screen, what you need to do, you need to click on this audience tab. So once you click on this audience tab, see guys, remember, once you publish this up, then this is available for the production and for their purpose, for the production purpose, test information is test ID is not required. But until and unless your application is not publishing, so it is in the testing phase. But the testing phase means a test user is required. So how you can add the text user? Now just click on this app users add users button. So from here, you need to provide the text user. So for example, I'm providing some text user. So there must be a valid email address. So gmail.com. Then I need to add another user, Pranay Kumar 7 @gmail.com. Then I'm going to add Pranay Raut 88 @gmail.com. So these are the some test test idea I have added. So then click on the save button and those information you can see here. Clear? Till now anyone have any question? So you have to create a project, you have to set the all of the consent screen, you have to create the credential, and within the all of the consent screen, go to the audience tab and add the text users. So this is what you need to do within the console.cloud.google platform. Clear?
Yep.
Clear? Is
Yes.
that clear, guys? I'm not getting that much
Yes,
of a
sir. Yes, sir.
response. Hence,
Yes.
it
So
should be
yes, yes.
something. Okay, fine. So now once this is done, let us see how we can integrate this in our ASP.NET Core web application. So first of all, go to the appsettings.json file. So within this file, create one settings, that is authentication for the Google. And we have already created the Google ID and the secret. So this is going to my client ID. So copy that Google client ID to this place. Then I have to copy that Google secret right from here to this place. So this is the first changes that what you need to do. Second change is what, as you have already know, that corresponding package we need to install. So for Google authentication, Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.authentication.google package we need to install. And we need to install this package as per the .NET framework version, whichever package is compatible with the .NET framework on which you are working, that corresponding package you need to install. So I'm using .NET 8. So what I need to do, I cannot install using the package manager console. You can install, but in that case, you need to provide the appropriate version number. But what is the best option in this case? If you are installing the latest one, go with the package manager console. If not the latest one, some older package version you need to install, go with the package manager solution. So here, what you need to do, search for this package, select the package, whichever the latest one in .NET 8, 8.0.9 and install this package. That's it. So this is the first thing that you need to install the package. Once you install the package, what is the next thing? You need to register your settings, authentication settings within the app settings.json file. Now, so once this is done, next what we need to do, we need to register the services. So for Google external authentication, what we need to do, we need to register the authentication service. So go to the right, wherever you want, you can register. Okay, I'm registering Google Authentication. So builder that services that add authentication. So to the authentication scheme, I'm currently introducing, or you can consider adding this Google Authentication. And while I'm adding the Google Authentication, what exactly it is going to do? It is going to register the required services, the required middleware component to the request processing pipeline, which is going to support the Google external authentication. So how to communicate with the Google client, how to get the data, how to fetch the data, what are the endpoints. So these things, it is going to manage internally. We do not need to think too much about it. So what you need to do, just call this add Google method, which is the method which is going to register the required services into the dependency injection container. And here, what you need to do, you need to set the client ID and the client secret. Where the client ID is available, the client ID is available inside the authentication.google.client ID. So that's what I have provided here, authentication colon Google colon client ID. Similarly, where the client secret, this is the client secret. So this is the step number 3. Clear? Step 1, install the required package. Step 2, provide the client ID and the client secret in the app settings.json file instead of hard coding within the program class. Step 3, configure the add Google authentication to the dependency injection container. While authenticating, you need to provide two main things, right? What are the things? Client ID and client secret, and wherever we store this information, from there you need to read the period. Clear till now? Clear or not?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay. So once this is done, next what we need to do, we need to create some service method for the external authentication. So let me go, as this is part of your account activity. So what I need to do, I need to add some services. So here you can see I'm adding 4 service method. One is configure external login, get external login async, external login sign in, and create external login. So what is the use of this 4 method? I will show you practically. Practically means now I'm going to implement this 4 method, and at the time of implementation, I will show you the use of each of this method. So let me copy this code where this method needs to be implemented. As I'm providing this within iAccount service interface, so it needs to be implemented within the account service class. So let me go. So just before the helper method, add this method. So let us try to observe and try to understand this method. So this is configure external login async method. So basically, if I'm going to redirect, if I'm going to redirect from my application, if I'm going to redirect from my application to the external provider, then what is the provider, right? But why I'm saying, see, this is the configure external authentication properties method, and this method provided by the sign-in manager. So this sign-in manager expected two parameters. What is that parameter? One is what is the provider, so that they can decide how to communicate with that provider. It can be your Facebook, it can be your Google, it can be your Microsoft, it can be your Twitter, anything. So this method is going to be common, based on the provider we provided to this method, it is going to do the necessary setup. So what are the parameters is required while transferring our request from client application to the server application, from our application to the external provider application? So what are the information required, how to communicate, everything is going to be managed by this method. So basically it is going to set the required parameter which are required for external authentication. So what parameter it takes? It takes two parameter. One is provider, another one is redirect URL. So what is this provider? This provider can be Google, can be Facebook, can be Microsoft, whatever, whichever login button you click. For example, I click on the Facebook login button. So the provider is going to be the Facebook. If I click on the Google, then the provider is going to be Google. And what is this redirect URL? Now, after the authentication is completed on the Google side, once the authentication is done, for example, you can say, if you go to the implementation, not the implementation, so here you can see provider, and then you can see this is the redirect URL. This redirect URL, you can say it is a nullable type. Why? Now, if you do not provide this redirect URL, then whatever the redirect URL you configure, right? While I'm registering my application, I have also provided the redirect URL. My base application hyphen sign in underscore Google. So it will redirect to that redirect URL. But I don't want to use that one. I want to use the appropriate one. For that, which one is the appropriate one? That what this method will receive as a parameter, and using that redirect URL, it will redirect the user to that particular URL after the authentication is completed. Clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Right. So basically, once the authentication is done, once the authentication is done, for example, first time user comes, then once the first time user is coming, then in that case, does our external provider, right? I mean, this user login table going to contain some information about the user? Is it's going to contain some data earlier? No. At that time, this table is going to be empty for that provider. So in that case, what exactly this get external async method is going to do? It is going to retrieve the login information about the user from the external login provider. Right? For example, right? For example, what exactly this provider is going to do? What is the provider name? And the user identifier with that provider, it is going to retrieve. So, so what exactly it means? It means if you look at this get external authentication method, so get the external login information from the current login as an asynchronous operation. So basically, so this method is going to return the user information. So based on the current provider, whatever the user information like the first name, last name, all this information we need in our application, from where we'll get from the right, what I can say, from the system, or you can say from the external login provider. So that information you will get right once you call this one. So here you can see the return type is external login info. If you go to the definition, you can see this is the class provided by the identity. So whatever the authentication information you need, so you can see the claims principal. So it is returning the claims principal, and from the claims, what I can do, I can retrieve the email ID, I can retrieve the first name, I can retrieve the last name. So whatever the basic informations are available, those informations we can retrieve. And how? Now by calling this method. So once you call this method, it will give me this external login info object, which is nothing but the claims principal. And from that object, right, I can retrieve all the informations. Clear? Clear?
Yep.
Okay, so it's still not clear, right? I will also show you practically once I run the application. So this is my external login sign-in async method. So basically, if you see that login method, right? In login method, we are using password sign-in. Why password sign-in? But at that time, the user having the password. Can I use this password sign-in method here? No, I cannot use this password sign-in method here. Why? Because here we are only right. We are only retrieving the email ID, last name, but not the password. So I cannot use this password sign-in method to sign in the user in case of a external login. So what I need to do, we need to use this external login sign-in method. So in this method, so login provider, which is the login provider, in this case, it is going to be this one. Then second one is the provider key. That is nothing but this one, which will see this information. This provider key will receive from the external authentication provider, which can be Facebook, Google, whatever you use. That key you will receive. Is this going to create a persistent cookie or not? And do we want to bypass two-factor authentication? And that makes sense. So in this case, if your authentication is going to be handled by the external authentication provider, means what? Means we are not going to bother about the two-factor authentication. So two-factor authentication is going to be bypassed. If two-factor authentication is enabled, that is going to be handled by the external authentication. We are not going to bother about this thing. So using this one, without using the password, using the provider and the provider key, what we received from the Google or Microsoft or Facebook, we are going to sign in the user into our application. Clear? Clear or not?
Yes.
Right. So before external login sign in, but before external login sign in, what we need to do? Okay, let me move that method just below this method, right? So that will be give you better clarity. See, before the sign in, before we sign in the user, what we need to do? We will definitely going to create one entry into this table, but before that, we also need to make an entry into our users table. Yes, whatever the data is available, those data are going to be populated. Whatever data is not available, they are going to be empty. That makes sense. So in this case, this create external user async method, right? You can see this is get external login async method. This is the principal object. That principal object it is taking, and from this principal object we can claim right to fetch the user information. So first of all, email. If email is available, then only we need to proceed. Otherwise, we need to tell that external provider doesn't provide the email information, and without email information, I cannot proceed and log in the user. So first of all, we need to ensure email claim is available from the right, right from the right. What I can say, ID token, what we retrieve from the external authentication. So once the email is there, then what we need to do? We need to check whether this email ID is already associated with any user in our users database. If it is already associated, do I need to make a new entry? No. If it is already associated, no need to create a new entry. Only get the user ID, use that user ID while making a new entry into this table. But let assume the user ID, I mean that email ID is not available. That email ID is not available in the existing database. Then what I need to do? If email ID is not available, then what I need to do? I need to fetch the first name. I need to fetch the last name. See, guys, remember to fetch the first name, you have to use the claim given name. To fetch the last name, you have to use the claim surname. So by taking this first name, last name, now what I can do is I can create a new user. So how I can create a new user? Please observe. So as this is the external authentication provider, my username is going to be email. My email is going to be email. First name I have retrieved here. Last name I have retrieved from the red claim. Email confirmed, yes, as this email ID is confirmed by the external authentication provider, there is no second thought to mark this email as not confirmed. So you have to mark this email as confirmed. Yes, the user is going to be active when it is created and modified. So I mean last login and create. So because why I'm setting that last login here? Because I'm also going to log in this user. So you can also set that last login directly here. Clear? So once the user instance is ready, how to create a new user, you already know. Using the user manager create async method. Once the user is created, then what I need to do? I need to add a new entry into my users table or not? Yes, I need to add a new entry into my users table or not? into this table or not? Yes. So how I can do this? Now by calling this add login async method. So in this case, what I need to pass? I need to pass this user and I need to pass this info object. Why? Now from this info object, we have only retrieved here email ID. We have retrieved the first name, last name. But apart from email ID, first name, last name, what is the unique identifier provided to us by the external provider? What is the provider key? Those informations are already also there. So those information we need at the time of a external login. So for example, what is the login provider? What is the provider key? What is the display name? So these informations are going to be contained by this info create principal object. And what is the user ID? That the user ID it will retrieve from this user entity which we have just created. And finally, right, if everything is fine, sign in the user. And here you can see we are directly signing in this user using this each method. So you can see this is one method to sign in the user. This is another method to sign in the user. And we have already discussed password signing. So there are three different methods to sign in the user. So now that is fine. Now this external user creation is fine. But in case, for example, the user is login. So first time you access, it might be create a new entry. It might be make an entry into this login provider. If you are accessing the application for the second time means this email ID is already there in the database or not? Yes or no?
Yes.
So if it already existing, so it will go inside this if block. In the if block, first of all, it will check, right? If user already exists, link this external login to the existing account. So link this external login to the add login async method. As remember, this add login async method is only going to add the user if it is not already added to this database. If the, for example, I'm providing this login provider and provider key. So this combination, if it is already exist in the database, it is not going to create a new entry. If it is not exist, then only it is going to make an entry into this table. Clear?
Yes, sir.
So if it is created successfully, then what I need to do? I just need to update that existing user last login, update the database, and again sign in the user. Clear?
Yes.
Right. So this is the method. So four method we have created. One is for the external login. How to use this external login? We'll see. Another method is this one, which is going to create a local user, create a external login. If they are not exist, if exist, they will reuse. This is going to retrieve me the user information, identity information. This identity information is going to be used by this method. And this is for preparing the data, right? Yeah, and we need to call this method before navigating to the external web application. I mean, before navigating to the right client, to the what I can say, external web applications login page. Now what I need to do once this is done, next what I need to do, I need to create a two endpoint within the account controller. For what purpose? One is for the navigation and one is for the callback. So what do you mean by redirect and what do you mean by callback? Let us try to observe. So now just below this one, I'm going to create one get endpoint. So this is external login. So when I click on the right sign in with Google, sign in with Facebook, sign in with Twitter, sign in with Microsoft, then in that case, that button will invoke this external login action method. So whichever provider you clicked, that provider name it is going to store here. This redirect URL is very similar to your login page redirect URL. Clear? So this redirect URL means what? The login page redirect URL. Login page redirect URL means what? Now, for any page for which authentication is required, if you are accessing that page without authentication, then that return URL it is going to store here. And this return URL and this redirect URL, guys, remember, these are two different things. Return URL is different. Redirect URL is different. Return URL means after login, we need to redirect to this page. And this redirect URL means what? Now, once we go to the external authentication application, Google side or Facebook side, and once the authentication is done there, then to which page that external application will redirect? That is going to be my redirect URL. And this redirect URL here we are creating with two things. One is going to my external login callback method, which I'm going to create in some time. And it is the account controller. And any route data, right? If you want, you can pass. For example, return URL. So after successful authentication, if you want, you can redirect it to this URL. I will also show you this thing practically. So once the redirect URL is there, right, then what I need to do, I need to call this a configure method, configure external login method, which is going to set all the required parameter which are required for right authentication, external authentication. So once the properties are set ready, then what I need to do, I need to call this challenge request by passing the provider and the property. So this challenge request, what exactly it is going to do, it is going to redirect it to the external authentication provider page. Clear? So challenge request means it will redirect from our application to the external authentication provider application. So based on the provider which we provided here, for example, Facebook means it will redirect to the Facebook login page. If this provider is Google, it will redirect to the Google page. And the properties means whatever the data is required for the authentication, those information we have provided. So once this is done, let's assume it will redirect you to the login page.
Excuse me, Prana.
Yes.
Line 217 line. Yeah, the new return URL is new.
So what do you mean by new? It is null.
No, yeah, it's pointing to nothing.
Sorry.
It's just no. When you have the provider,
So I'm
it
not
can't
going
be.
to. So okay. So
Oh
before
no,
that,
no, okay, now it's cool.
oh
No, no,
no.
it's okay. I finished.
My question is, what is this return URL in this login page? You just ask me first. You just tell me what is this return URL here.
That is when you are not redirect, then to return the that is when you are not redirect, when you
Just
didn't
go and
log in.
see. Just go and watch that session. What is the important of a return URL? We have already discussed in detail. I'm not going to discuss those concepts, right, which we have already covered. So if you see
Okay, maybe I missed it. Okay, now it's
return,
okay. I will check. I will check. It's okay.
so this is the page, right? Things which we have already discussed, and I'm not
Okay.
going to waste my time, right, by discussing this
No, it's okay. I will check it. I will check it. It's okay.
again and again. So now let assume. So in this case, you redirected to the external application. From there, you the user either logged in or not logged in, whatever it may be. So once that authentication is completed, then he will redirect it to this redirect URL what we provided here. So that redirect URL is nothing but this is going to be the external login callback method of the account controller. So this is going to my external login callback method of the account controller. Here you can see I'm expecting that return URL parameter and any remote error. Remote error means if anything happening, anything went wrong in the at the time of authentication, then that remote URL. For example, the user doesn't provide consent, the user provide invalid information. Then in that case, it will retrieve those remote error. So now first of all, we need to check if the return URL is null, then the default page is going to be the home page. Any page you can set here, that is going to be the default page if this is null. So if remote URL is not null, means there is some issue, we need to redirect to the login page. And whatever the remote validation error we got, that what we need to display. So first of all, what we need to do, we need to call this get external login info async method. So if you see this method, what exactly this method is going to return? This method is going to return the identity information, right? If you see, we are having two types of information. One is access token, another one is ID token. So this ID token is going to return me the user information, and that what you will get. So right, that what you will get by calling this method. So this method is going to return me the user information. If user information is null, means what? There is no ID. No ID means we need to return this error message. That is error loading external login information. If we got the information, then what I need to do? First of all, I need to call this external login sign in method. So this method is going to check whether this login provided and key are already available within this table or not. I mean, so in this case, whatever the provider and whatever the provider key we retrieve, Is this already available inside this table? See, if you are accessing for the first time, definitely no. But if you are accessing for the second time, this information provider and provider key is going to be there or not?
Yes.
So for that purpose, do I need to create a new user? Do I need to make an entry into this table? Not required. So that's what I can avoid by calling this method first of all. So once I call this method, this is going to check whether the provider and the provider key is already exist or not. If the provider information are already exist, then what we need to do? We need to redirect to the right authentication, login authentication is completed, return to the redirected to the return URL. So whatever the return URL we set, that what we need to redirect, right? Now once this is done, next what I need to do? Now, let assume it is accessing for the first time. First time means this authentication is going to be failed. In that case, what I need to do? I need to call this a create async method. So this create async method, I need to call. So this create async method, it is going to do all these things, whatever we have discussed just now. So once the user is created, if everything is success, then redirect it to this URL. If not, then look through all the error messages and redirect to the error view. Clear? Clear or not?
Yep.
Sir.
So once this is done, the last thing what we need to do currently, if you see the login view, if you go to the login page, account login, currently you can see this is going to be hard coded. So what I need to do? I need to set the right what I can say appropriate information. So what information I need to set? So I need to set three things. What are the things? What is the controller name? Right? You can see I have set three information. Okay, let me take down this 2 seconds. So which controller, when you click on this account button, what I need to do? I need to invoke this method. I need to invoke this external login method. So in this case, this is going to my account controller, account external login method, and the provider is going to be Google. Clear? So this provider is the parameter that is available in your account controller. Return URL, it is going to be set internally right by the system automatically. Clear?
Yep.
Yeah, one doubt, Pranay. Like provider name, can we give like any name? Like
No. Provider name, you cannot give any name. So whatever the provider, right, whatever the package we install, that package itself going to tell the provider name. So for example, currently we have installed one package. That provider name here Google means Google. You cannot change that name. Facebook means Facebook. Microsoft means Microsoft. LinkedIn means LinkedIn. That
okay.
fixed text is going to be the provider name, right? So this is one thing. So another thing, right? What I can do here is I can set the return URL. So right. So this return URL parameter also I need to set. So how to set, guys, tell me? Route, it is going to be return URL, whatever the parameter name, let me copy from my application. So this is going to be the return URL and the value is going to be model dot at the rate model dot return URL. Clear? Clear, guys?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes.
clear.
Right. So now what I need to do, I need to copy this code again because some changes I have done. Whatever the return URL we have not set, that what we have just changed. Okay. Now with these changes, now run the application and see whether it is working fine or not. Now what I'm going to do before right moving. So currently let's check where email equals to what I'm going to do from there 777 at the rate gmail.com. Okay, this user is there. So before that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to check how many admin users are there because otherwise I'm unable to access the application if I delete this user. Pranay Kumar 7. Okay. So this is going to my admin. Pranay Kumar 7 is admin. So currently this is also Pranay Kumar 777 is also one user. So what I'm going to do here, first of all, let me go ahead and delete this user. Delete from, okay. So currently you can say there is no user called Pranay Kumar 7. And for this user, I'm right. Okay, let me remove these things. So for this user, I want to make an entry, right? Which database we have selected this one. So I'm selecting the wrong database. Identity core DB. Okay, so in this database, this Pranay 777 is not available. That makes sense. And again, this is going to be the different database. So now I need to check this to identity database. So inside this database, identity database is also having two users.
Oh, Pranay here, identity code DB database name is there.
Okay, okay. So this is my mistake. Okay, fine. So there should be identity database. Clear? So here we are having one data. So let me delete that data. Now it's fine. So it is now using the identity database, and here also it is using the identity database. For this particular user, there is no entry. Clear? Clear or not?
Yeah.
Yes. So before that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to provide some endpoint. Let me put some debugger here so that we can test the functionality. Here debugger is not required. Right? The configuration, get external login info here also not required, and we need a debugger pointer here. Okay, fine. So now let me log out this user and then go to the login point. So now click on this Google. So once I click on this button, right, you can see the provider is Google and return URL is null, and it is going to prepare me the redirect URL. So you can see that the redirect URL is this one, account external login callback, and this is the provider and the return URL. So that's what I'm passing, and which is going to provide me this properties window. So in the properties window, you can see items, right? That items is there, right? Some data is also going to be there. Uh, some redirect URL is there, right? Parameters. So whatever that is persistent, allow everything. So this challenge request now, right? Currently, you can see the my application is still here. Now, once this challenge object is created, so it will redirect my application uh, from my application to the external login application. I mean to their login page. See, so in this case, as I have already logged in, so this page is directly coming. So in your case, if you have not logged in with your Google account, then it will ask you to enter your username and password. Then only this page is coming. So here you can say choose an account to continue .NET tutorials evening batch. So which account you want to choose? I want to choose this Pranay Kumar 777. So click on this button. So once you click, then it is asking, so do you want to allow access to .NET tutorials to access this information? Yes, I want to access. Click on this continue button. Now on which page we are? We are currently in the Google page. And from this page, once you give access, then it will redirect me back to my back to our .NET Core application. And whatever the redirect URL we provided, that callback URL, it is going to reach. So here you can see return URL null, remote URL null. That's fine. So in this case, the return URL is going to be my login page. Okay. Uh, so not login page, the return URL, it will set to home page. Then come to this one. So first of all, it is going to try, it is trying to login the user with the provided information. Does the user have any login information till now available in the database? No. So in this case, right, that info, see, in this case, info is going to retrieve me that authentication name, all these things, right? It is retrieving. So now, right, once everything is fine, so it is going to log in the user with the provider. This one provider key, you can see this is what we retrieve from the database. But using this provider and provider key, you can see this is Google and provider key. Is there any data available in the database? Not available. Not available means this external login is going to be false. So in that case, right, you can see it is going to return me succeeded false. Makes sense. Now, if succeeded is false, then what I need to do? I need to create a new user. And I need to map that local user to my external user. So this method will come. First of all, it will retrieve the email. Is this email ID is already available? If yes, that's fine. If no, then in that case, right, it will go right. It is first of all going to fetch the data. Is this email ID available? Not available. Okay, let me create a new application user. So let me create the user. So once the user is created, now if you go to this page, then you should see that user entry. That user ID is there, but still you can see this page is empty. Now this add login async method is invoked. So once the add login method is invoked, you should see one entry here. So you can see this is the ID. By taking this ID, it is making an entry. This is the Google provider, login provider. This provider key is issued by the authentication server, I mean Google. And this is the, again, this name and this name, mostly it is going to be same. And this user is created. So once the user is created, we need to sign in the user. And that's what we are doing here. And after this, we can redirect it to the right login page. This is going to my home page. Clear? Now,
Yep.
now I log out. Again, I'm going to log in. Again, I'm going to log in. And this time, right, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use again the same username. So this time, as I'm using now, it will come to this get external login info. Fine. So this time, does this login provider and whatever the provider key provided by Google is exist in the database?
Yes.
Yes.
It exists means do I need to create a new user? Do I need to make a new entry? Or do I need to log in the user directly? What I need to do?
No.
Yes. What I need to
We
do?
can log in. We can log in directly.
Monitors it.
We need to log in the user directly. So that is what we need to do. So now if you see, this time the login is going to be succeeded. So succeeded means this right create external login, whatever the logic we have written, they are going to be skipped. Clear? Clear or not? Now.
Yes.
Now if you see this Pranay Kumar 7, this user already created. And this is the ID. Now, if I'm going to log in with this Pranay Kumar 7 user, do I need to make a new entry into this table, or do I need to use this existing user ID and make entry into this table with a different provider key? What is the ideal scenario?
By using the
So,
existing user, we need to create the one more user by provider thing.
existing
But it's
user ID,
different provider.
here new provider rate entry we need to enter. Let's see whether this
Yeah,
is
it's different.
it is doing or not. So click on the login button, click on the Google, and now I'm going to use this Pranay Kumar 7 and see whether it is happening. So click on this continue button. I'm going to remove this debugger. See, login successful. Now check whether a new entry is there or not. Yes, one new entry is there. Check whether any rate for this particular user ID, one entry or two entry. One entry is there. Clear? But at last login time is changed. Clear?
Yes.